4:30 to start the meeting. Call to adopt the agenda. Any changes, Chad?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Well,
You do.
you did. Oh,
Second it.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, public input.
Why don't you come up to the microphone so we can, yep.
Ellen of Rural Roads ATV Club. I just want to thank the committee and the police chief for all the work that they've done on the proposed ordinance. And I wanted to let you know that we have 7 members of our club that have become certified as trail ambassadors and route ambassadors. And so we've gone through statewide training to do so, which is in conjunction with the DNR and the Wisconsin ATV Association. And so we're serious about framing up and being able to encourage safe and responsible driving, you know, if you would pass that ordinance. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll go to item number 3, wastewater treatment plan update. Ben?
Good afternoon. I'm going to save my budget stuff for later when Chad goes through both the Board of Public Works and the wastewater. So I'm just going to skim over the notes. So we were contacted by the city of Amro to see how we got rid of our sludge and who could contract operate for them to get rid of their sludge. So for 2 cents a gallon, we could take their sludge and put it into our new existing system that we just built for pumping their sludge directly into our digesters. He has to go to the board with what Jeff Waldvogel is saying he can charge to bring that from Amro to us. Unfortunately, I think Winneconne wants it too, and they're a shorter haul, so they could probably beat us on the price just because of the shorter haul. But once he goes to his board, I think it's next week, he will get back to us to see if they would be interested in contracting with us to get rid of their sludge. I talked to the DNR about it, and they said that's fine. We just have to give them the permit number that they can put on their DNR records. Speaking of Waldvogel, he came in with the cheapest bid for the 2021 to 2023 sludge hauling contract. He increased his price from 2.5 cents per gallon to 2.75. The next bid was 3 cents per gallon. So I'll be working with him on getting a contract written up. Let's see. We took out roughly 600,000 gallons of sludge on some oat fields a couple weeks ago. We'll have one more application probably in October. As far as the digester cracking of the sealant, we're still not really sure. They sent it to a third party. They're waiting, it could be 3 to 6 weeks before we get results on what's actually going to happen to fix the chipping of the sealant. Still working with Jill on getting the vacant position filled. Unfortunately, she's not around a lot, so hopefully within the next week or so we can get that on NeoGov. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I was going to have Ben wait and review his capital projects, but if you guys want to kind of review those now, then Ben could go. He wouldn't have to stay for the end of the meeting. I know I was going to have him kind of push off to the end, but if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
So sorry, Ben.
Oh, that's fine.
So go ahead with the, you just want to kind of do a quick upgrade or update on some of these capital budget things?
Okay, so those ISCO meters that we have scattered throughout the city that's checking for rainwater infiltration, Verizon has changed or at the end of this year, supposedly, they're going to change everything from their, I think it was like 2G to 3G as their minimum signal. Our modems were designed for the older system, so we'll have to get new modems to communicate with our server. That's $9,500 for 4 of them. Our UV wiping system was installed in 2003. The ferric chloride in the water has basically deteriorated the wiping carriage. A new one, which is made out of a corrosion resistant plastic, will cost $28,430 to replace. We're hoping with the replacement carriage, we can get another 10 to 15 years out of that system. Let's see, the Fastest Analyzer is, we had it installed 10 years ago. Oh, my glasses keep steaming up. That's going to cost $22,000 to replace. The old one is starting to show its age, and like electronics, usually if you get more than 8 years out of them, you're lucky. The new system is going to be a lot more robust, and it will eliminate the area where if we do go through with that W3 water improvement to get our water from the final clarifiers, we would have to move this system anyway, and it would be cheaper for us to buy it outright and install it ourselves than to have it put on the project. So that's 22,000. The influent check balls. Back in 2008, our influent pump station had a different style check ball. Basically, it's the size of a basketball and it weighs about 30 pounds. We have 4 of those. And over the years, the sand and gravel from our deteriorating sanitary sewer has been just sandblasting away on those. I need to get 4 new spool pieces, which those balls sit in, because there's water leaking by and it's making some of the pumps run less efficiently because they have to pump more water than if those balls would seat. So that's basically $15,000 for 4 of those. Our sludge transfer pump. Unfortunately, with the advent of flushable wipes, which shouldn't be flushed down the toilet to begin with, those are getting past our screen and getting into our pumps, and it's plugging up, it's being less efficient, and it's actually hurting the actual impeller and stuff. So we are looking at getting a different system that has a chopper in front of it, so it should shred those pieces before it even gets into the volute. So that's $22,000 there. And then we're looking at putting an auto valve in the sludge storage tank, so that way when everything gets automated after hours, like we started getting a lot of septage in the new high strength waste station, but sometimes we get it after hours and that fills up our digesters, and then we get called in for a high digester level. So somebody has to come in and transfer. With this new auto valve, we can tie that into the SCADA system, the basic control or computer controls, and it should do it for us automatically. That way no one will get called in and everything's basically streamlined. So that's $12,000 to put in that new valve. So those are the things that I'm looking at adding to the capital equipment budget for the wastewater.
So as of this time, it's basically to get the board's input on what you guys think about these items. You're going to have another round to kick at this once we bring the budget to the council later on. But this and then my conversation a little bit later will just be kind of the first round of, okay, what do you guys think? Is there anything in here that you really don't like? Anything you want to add? So that as we're finishing up the development of the budget, we can continue that. So I don't know if you have any questions for Ben on any of one of the items.
So this $109,000 roughly is going to come out of where?
It's part of, it's just like any other capital. Like this year we budgeted $108,000 for lift station upgrades, a valve upgrade, and a couple other things. So basically it's just part of the natural budget that Judy, it's just the money that the revenue that we're bringing in for 2021.
You were saying you're only like $900 over
Yeah, I thought it would be a lot more with how much I was putting in. And then when I plugged in the numbers, I'm like, it's not much more than what we budgeted for this year.
You still haven't heard anything from Sherwin-Williams?
No, they put it to a third party so that nobody can dispute, oh, this is Sherwin-Williams trying to protect themselves. So, yeah, I highly doubt that we're gonna get anything finished on it this year, the way things are going, because it's gonna get cold soon.
And they expect how long they'll wait for the third party to do their
3
investigation?
to 6 weeks. So, I mean, that's gonna put us squarely into October, probably.
So any comments on those items that Ben's got proposed?
I'm on a different item. I think, why did the coating on the digester walls fail?
Well, that's why they took it to a third party. Place to-
Evaluation?
Yeah. Originally, when I was standing in the digester with the Sherwin-Williams rep and the guy from Corcoran, the Sherwin-Williams rep said something about if you used propane gas to heat during the winter, propane adds moisture to the air. So they're thinking that when they were putting the spray on, there was moisture in the air and it's not allowing that second coat to
Right.
adhere to the first coat. So it might be that, but I'm sure somebody's going to dispute it in the end, but that's what they're trying to do is cross all their T's and dot all their I's to make sure that this is the reason why it failed. Now, how do we fix it? Do we sandblast everything back down to the concrete? Can they take the second coat off somehow and leave the first coat? That's what we're waiting for Sherwin-Williams to bring to us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? This is just strictly for discussion, right?
Correct.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 4.
Thanks, Ben.
Oh, you don't need me to stay?
It's up to you. But we're on number 4. So.
Is there anything else you need, Ben, or?
No, I just didn't know if you wanted me to stay for.
You can stay for the budget part too if you want, but I mean, it's up to you. Didn't know if you wanted to leave or not.
No, I'm here.
Okay, the next is discussion, possible action on ordinance designing ATV, UTV routes in the city of New London.
So if you want me to kick that off a little bit, in your packet was a draft ordinance that we've talked about a couple times now. Thank Chief for going through the steps and putting that all together. He did send that over to Earl for review. Earl brought it back, and here's where we're at right now is what you see in front of you. I don't know, Chief, if you want to say anything on that?
Pretty much it. Chad caught a mistake that we had in I think I had CHT instead of CTH for one of the roads down there, so he fixed that. Otherwise, for the most part,
We still don't have any idea on how much we're gonna have to pay for signs.
Not yet. I haven't had a chance to sit down and, figure out, but there's only, what do we say, 7 entrances into the city? 7 or 8 entrances in the city that we would need signage for all the entrances coming in. So it's not like we've got 50 entrances or anything we got to worry about signage for.
Don't we have to mark where they cannot go? I mean, we put these signs up, basically the entrances are gonna say somewhat that all roads are open. But don't we have to put up no ATV signs where they cannot go?
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we have entrance signs at all the entrances saying that coming into the city limits is ATV routes, if there are certain sections that are not designated, as long as we put a sign there saying this is not designated, I think we would be able to be okay saying that everything is open except what's, designated, which would be those areas that are over 35 miles an hour within the city limits.
For example, when you come out in Vice Spur Road. So that area would be. We don't have that many areas. in the city where the highway, there's a very large one on Powell Street, and there's all kinds of roads.
It's,
Otherwise, everything pretty much is.
and these are the ones designated right here.
That's only due to the fact that the speed limit's over 35 miles per hour in those locations. Well, one other thing that we did change was brought to my attention after the last meeting that there were some changes in the descriptions of ATVs and UTVs. So I did go back and change that. I think that's something on pneumatic tires. And corrected before, and that's changed or something, so we got that fixed.
Does anyone have any other comments?
You need a motion to take this to council?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, made,
Second it.
Thanks, Mike. We got it.
motion made and seconded to take in council. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Was it 3-2?
Mayor, Dave,
Mike?
saying yes. So the mayor, Dave, Fred, Tom, what was your vote?
Yes.
And Mike Pinch was yes. And
Yes.
then Mike Barrington and Bob Esau were no. Got it.
Okay, motion be taken to council.
Open to make sure to have the signs up, or and as of April 1st of 2021, once we get through the winter, because by then we'd have all the signs up. Want that or signage, or if we set a start date.
Modify the motion or just make a new motion?
At the very bottom, we left it blank. As to when it would actually take effect.
Okay,
So we would change this right here, right? No. Where does it say when it starts? Or did you have a section in there?
I think we, upon approval from the, right down there at the bottom.
Below that? Nope, that's it.
I thought there's seen something in there about approval of when the signs are up.
Not seeing that.
I think it's in your memo, Chad.
Down? Oh, I had it in my memo just saying, to do that when the signs were up, but I don't know if we had it in the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
We need to change the motion, and it doesn't matter to me either way.
I honestly don't think so, because when we go to council, we can ask it that way.
You can do it on the council floor too, if you want. Or if you want to do it here, I mean, you can make a motion to add start date being, when signs are up or April 1st. If you want to make that motion right now, I suppose you could.
I can make that motion right now. The start date will be April 1st, 2021, or when the signs are up.
Shouldn't have to vote on that again. That's just an amendment, isn't it?
Just amend that.
I can't either.
You don't have to vote on it again. That's just an amendment to that.
So you're gonna make a motion, and then was there a second on that?
No second yet.
I didn't hear a second yet.
Second.
Tom, second? Okay, so the motion is to amend the ordinance to include a start date of April 1st or once signage goes up, correct?
Yes.
All right, we'll re-vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Hey,
Okay. Same way.
Same one. We'll make it happen.
Okay, now we can move. Review list of potential street projects, upcoming CDBG application.
So Judy's been talking about at the Finance and Personnel meeting regarding our Community Development Block Grant application in conjunction with Wapaka County and the revolving loan fund close program. So we're talking about what projects we would like to fund with that money that we're getting back. So we've been talking about, and there's strings attached, so it's got to be for either certain things that qualify. So like ADA enhancements, those things qualify. And potential street projects that improve areas for low to moderate income individuals, those qualify as well. So one of the things we've been talking about is obviously streets are something we want to continue on developing in the city. And I'm gonna get the Zoom thing sharing so Mike Pinch can see our screen. One of the things that we're kicking around right now is to utilize some of this funding for streets that would qualify. And, you know, in the back of our heads, obviously, areas in the Fifth Ward traditionally have had low to moderate income qualifying areas. So the areas that you see colorized are the areas that we're looking at just investigating right now to ensure that they qualify. So North Street, Avon Street, Lima, and Lyons. Those are the streets right now that were some of the worst streets on our most recent PASER rating. And then also we feel that hopefully would qualify. So what we're doing right now is sending these streets to the state, and the state would come out with a rep and ensure that these areas would qualify for that funding if they're low to moderate income. And then we would take the next step and designate what funds go to what streets. I don't see the funding improving all these streets by any means. And hopefully it's all a mill and overlay. Ben can attest that in the mid 80s, I think it was, the sewers.
83, the sewers were replaced with PVC up to the lot lines.
Yep.
And I think from the lot line in, it was grouted, but they don't have to dig up the road to do the sanitary sewer laterals for any houses that are leaking, and almost every one of them is.
And through televising, you haven't even noticed any problems in these areas? I
No,
don't
there
think.
might be a couple dips here and there, but for the most part, it looks pristine.
So these are roads that we hopefully, unless utilities, and Mike Pinch will have to kind of comment on that. And I've given this to Jason too. I don't know if there's any water improvements that need to be done, but at least on the sewer side, sanitary sewer side, we shouldn't have to have any need to rip up the street. We need to evaluate some of the storm sewer yet to ensure the storm sewer is fine. I'm hopefully just it's spot repair here and there. Like I said, I gave this to Jason to kind of pick his brain about the water side with utilities. But this is what we're
Ed?
investigating right now. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I happen to be at work, so I'm looking at the map right as we speak. And the The block between McKinley and Shawano on North Street is old. So the rest of the North Street is good as far as our water mains are concerned. The entire Avon Street, the yellow part, is old. On Lima, the first two northern blocks are old and all the rest is good. As far as age of mains are concerned, we have old mains in those areas.
So we would have to sit down and evaluate with utilities to see what their needs would be as well, once we find out what would qualify for any of these improvements. Yeah, Mike?
Mike Pinch, do you know, do we have any lead services down there?
I'm gonna take a peek right now. Give me 1 second to zoom out a little bit here and I'll take a peek. Yes, Lima. Lima has a few, Avon. Yes, there are lead services on Lima and Avon for sure. Not all of them, but some of them.
Would those have to be replaced?
Well, as of right now, the DNR does not make us replace lead services, but I think it's only a matter of time before that they're gonna start forcing us to do so. So I don't think it's a bad idea for us to be proactive to at least minimally replace the lead services in these areas that we know of. The problem is we're basing our information on what we see at the meter set inside the house. And a lot of times, like when we did Division Street, I thought there was like 20 some lead services. And by the time we were done, there was like 28. There was 8 more that the service was different out in the street than what it was in the house. And so it's kind of almost impossible to know which ones are what and without digging them up. But I mean, all you can go by is your best information.
I'm just thinking that we don't want to tear that street up 2 years down the road.
Right, and that could, it could happen. So again, Jason and I will have to speak about this. Did you just talk to Jay about that today, Chad, or?
No, it was last week sometime, but.
I haven't heard anything from him yet.
What's that?
I hadn't heard anything from him in regards to this yet, so.
Just something to think about, I suppose.
One thing, there's no curb and gutter down there to worry about and sidewalk from those places.
And we would just do spot repair like we did like on Cedar and Northridge.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a full reconstruction by any means, And, if once we get the funding amount, we know what we can do and working with utilities, I mean, we might be able to do 2 blocks of that. It might only pay for that. I don't know. This is just in the beginning phases of what's possible. But first of all, we got to figure out what streets qualify. So once they do the investigation, maybe Avon and Lions qualify and the rest don't. Well, then we know we're narrowing it down and kind of going from there. But I think putting some of this for street improvements would probably be a very good.
Lima's really bad.
What's that?
Lima's really bad.
Yeah. More so information is where we are with that process of investigation, and that's kind of our intent at this point in time to keep looking at that for some of these funds. So no motion has got to be made at this time, but I mean, if there's comments or redirection that you'd rather us look at something compared to something else, now's the time to kind of voice some opinion on it.
It's been pushed off for a long time down there. It's time that we do something down there.
Well, the big thing we're worried about too is infiltration.
And we'll have to talk about once we do these, whether, if we do some pipe bursting or something to kind of reduce some of that I&I.
All right. Any further discussion? Otherwise, we'll move on. The next thing I see, consider an agreement for McMahon and Associates for design work on Warner Allen Boulevard and Shawnee Street.
Yep, so in your packet, we have a draft agreement from McMahon to begin the design work for Warner Allen. If you remember at that last capital projects meeting that Judy was talking about with our next upcoming bond, our intent is to try to get Warner Allen into that bond. Originally, her thought was the bond for the downtown kind of in the next bond, but since the downtown was pushed to 2024, like she said, she can push the next 2 bonds out to that and slip another bond in between that. And Warner Allen was one of the roads that we were looking at for improvements with the upcoming bond. So, but to do that, if we're going to do it for next year, we got to start design work now because we don't want to be bidding out after. We don't want to be starting the design work and trying to bid out in July. It's not going to work. We want to have the design work done this year, so we're ready to bid out after the first of the year. So that means we got to get going with this. At the finance and personnel agenda on Wednesday, you'll see those couple resolutions coming by. One of them which will allow us to start this work. And like I think Dave brought up the point, that resolution is so we can do the work and then use the money for the bond later on to pay for it. Or basically charge that once we do bond it. But we do need those resolutions that'll be passed on Wednesday night and going to council to start the work to be able to charge it to that bond once we actually do put the bond out for bid. So if you're cool with that, I would recommend that we would start the design work for Warner Allen. And I slipped in Shawnee Street there because I've got a $24,000 LRIP grant that we were awarded a year or 2 ago for next year. So we might as well put them all in one project and one bid and get it out there as well. So a couple more little pieces of grant money that we received for street improvements.
Do you want a motion on McMahon Associates design work?
Yep, take that to council.
I would so move that we may have an agreement with McMahon and Associates for design work on Warner Allen Boulevard and Shawnee Street.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to proceed with agreement for McMahon Associates to start doing preliminary work. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next thing is draft of 2021 department budget, Chad.
So what I do every year is put together just a summary of the budget as of what it is looking like going into the process before it gets all put together with the entire city budget. So tonight's is just a general little summary of that. Not a lot of changes. If you recall a couple of other conversations we've had with Judy, things are tight this year, very tight. And health insurance is going up. We got the ambulance subsidy is going up. The increase of the value, the assessed value is, some, but it's not enough to kind of offset everything. So it was a tight budget to kind of start with. Judy asked to try to keep everything at a 0% increase. I've done that for the most part in the public works side. Once we get to tomorrow night, talk about Parks and Rec and facilities and stuff. That's where I got the problem right now. And we'll talk about that one tomorrow night, maybe at the end of this one. But this is just kind of a summary of where I'm at with the 2021 budget in relationship to the public works right now. So I split it up into a couple different categories. One is just the administration and supervision side. Right now, as of last year, we had a budget of a little over 200,000. We're looking at a $21,000 increase, and this is not just for wages and everything, but oh, it's kind of loud. Let me see if I can bring that down. So we got wage and benefit increases in there. And one of the biggest things was when I created the 2020 budget, that's when Abel was here and he didn't take the city's health insurance. Now that Luke is the new superintendent, He's got family health insurance. So that was one of the big increases in this budget just because of the health insurance. One of our staff members who did not have it, at the time when we created last year's budget, going into 2021, he does have it. So that's the big difference there. Overall, on the street side, I'm looking at a $28,000 decrease, and there's a bunch of different things. I do have the 2% right now draft, or 2% like draft wage increase and benefit increase in there. Some of the decreases came from wages because we had 2 of our highest paid employees retire who have been here a long time. So the newer employees do make less. So there's longevity and some other things that do bring down the cost for the employee. I did have one individual change from family insurance to the individual insurance, so that helped quite a bit there. So that's why you see right there the $28,000 decrease in this section. And then I usually took tree maintenance and I just threw that in its own section. Right now I've got a $2,600 decrease in that budget. The 2 biggest reasons for that, number one, we don't have to contract out for stump grinding anymore because now we have our own stump grinder. So that was $3,500 right there. And I did take out some money for contracted tree removals because now we have our bucket truck. So those are 2 things I was able to reduce the budget because we can do some of that stuff in-house now. I do still have some money in contracted tree stuff in case we got a situation where we need a contractor to come in and it's a very specialized situation where if it looks like it's going to fall on a house, we might need someone else to do that situation. But overall, I was able to decrease that budget a little bit there. So overall, with just the street side, what I've talked about so far, it looks like I got a $7,000 decrease going into the budget for those sections. So this is the side that's paid through with tax dollars. Now we go into the sanitary side, and as you know, the sanitary side is paid for user fees. So we don't have the same restrictions or the same crunches as we see on the items that are paid on the tax side. So right now we're looking at a $16,000 increase for the sanitary maintenance side. This is your collection system underneath the streets. Just got the annual wage and benefit increases that we're looking at right there. Ben and I talked, and he would like to do some more additional televising and sewer cleaning. So that's some of that increase right there. Some additional sewer foaming, $5,000 increase for there. And so that's where we got those increases at that point. Treatment plant, and we can ask Ben any questions about this, but we're looking at a $48,000 increase right there. We've got the proposed wage and benefit increases like we do for every single section. Ben did budget for a family health insurance coverage. As you know, we had one employee retire. That employee had individual health insurance coverage. We don't know what the new person's going to have, so we have to assume the new person, just for budgeting purposes, is going to have a family insurance. So that'll cost us more. So we're budgeting right now for family coverage. If for some reason that we could hire somebody before we actually adopt the budget, we know that person takes individual, we can change this at that point in time, but it's getting pretty tight to do that. So we're just assuming that at this point in time, we're gonna have to budget for family health insurance. And then Ben had a couple of decreases in some other project plans around the plan compared to last year as well. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're looking at for the budget for street and wastewater treatment plant. Everything else, there wasn't much changes besides some, changes in benefits and things, and with the reduction of like the tree stump grinding and things like that, but haven't really changed anything else at this point. And I'm, at the street side, we're sitting at what was it? $7,000 decrease in the street budget as of right now. It doesn't say that we aren't hurting, because yeah, we could use more labor. We're running around. We could use more bodies, but if we need to keep things at a 0% increase, that's where we're sitting right now. And I'm gonna need this to help on the park and rec and facility side a little bit. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. So any questions?
How is that gonna work now? I know you were talking about somebody retiring. How does that work now? Say Wagner's retiring.
Yep.
And somebody takes his place. What does that do to the insurance if he has say a single family instead of a single plan instead of family plan?
if that individual who was retiring had a single insurance and the new person would have a family health insurance, obviously that costs more. Yeah, that's the way it is. But I think both individuals who were retired had the family, if I'm not mistaken. What really kind of helped out a little bit was the wages, pretty much. I mean, because new individuals for the most part would start on the bottom end of the wage scale. I didn't budget at the very bottom of the wage scale just because we could find somebody that came in here that has 6 years, 10 years of experience somewhere else. So at that point, maybe that individual wouldn't start at the bottom, but we don't know until we get the individuals in.
What Wagner just says retires at Dale?
Dale, number 11.
I think he was old.
He didn't go today then. I thought he was going the first. He didn't.
Oh, September 11th, because that is his 42nd anniversary,
Really?
42 years.
Wow.
So, and I'll talk about Parks and Rec tomorrow night. Parks and Rec, unfortunately, we did have a scenario where an individual got married and went from individual to family health insurance. So I'm trying to handle that one in the budget. And there's some other things that went up, with that as well. So that one, we'll talk about that tomorrow night, but that one's going to be a little bit harder to budget for. I did send an email to my staff. I said, all right, guys, if overall between Public Works and Parks and Rec and facilities, if we're over, give me ideas for cutting. Because if we have to cut, I want to make sure we're talking about it, at the start. I didn't look what the street side was, but for Parks and Rec and facilities and such, 91% of the budget is wages or utilities or things that are pretty much fixed costs. So we have 9% of the budget to cut without cutting a body or cutting a major service. So I think right now in the Park Rec side, I'm $30,000 more than last year. So trying to cut that out of a 9% budget is getting kind of tough. So, but I mean, once everything gets together, who knows what's gonna happen. So any questions, any comments, any
Yeah.
suggestions?
Anything going on in Oshkosh? We're supposed to be starting soon. Oshkosh Street?
Oshkosh, we were gonna wait to see if we get the second STP urban grant for Pearl Street, then we'll know we have capacity in that bond, the second bond that we're looking at, to hopefully target Oshkosh Street, for sure. We'll have to wait and see once we get closer with that second bond, see if we can fit in Oshkosh Street, but that's not gonna be till 2023-ish, somewhere in there.
3 or 4 on this. Yeah.
Well, 2024 would be downtown.
That's
So
downtown.
we'll see if we can slip in, Oshkosh Street, but that would be a full street construction like
Well,
Division Street was, because there's a lot of sewer things going on there. I don't know about the water side, Mike, but I know we got some storm sewer issues down there too.
Hang on for a second.
Yeah, I know there's storm sewer
So,
issues because how many sinkholes have we had on Oshkosh in the last 2 years,
Well, that was something to do with the last contractor that put the water main in, so. From Jennings Street to Wolf, pretty much the river needs attention in the water department.
that would be a big one once we look at that one too.
Correct.
That's all I got for budget, unless there's no other questions.
Okay, then we'll move on to director's report.
I pretty much have what we're working on. I know, thanks, Ben. I know we have, down by the railroad tracks, some work did start by Canadian National, and MCC should be starting their excavation work soon. I drove down there this afternoon. I didn't see anybody working down there. So I'm not sure when they're going to start. Parker did start at the end of Beacon Avenue for the Beacon Outfall project, which we were supposed to do in 2018, but we couldn't do because the river was up so high, and it finally got to a point they were gonna try to get something done. I know they asked us for a bunch of sandbags to try to keep some of the rising water away, but hopefully they can get that going as well. We did get our bucket truck, so the guys are starting to work with that. And sinkholes, we talked about the sinkholes. They got the one fixed for sure. I think they were working on the second one. I don't know if they got that second one repaired, but sounds like it's all just pipes failing, mostly coming off the main going to the catch basin. So not so much the main has been failing so far. It's been like the connections to the leads to from the main to the catch basin.
See, the railroad's working out on 45 now, too, by their crossing out there.
Yep, and that was a county project too.
Yeah.
We were working on that. And then, like we talked about, I want to recognize Dale Wagner. He's going to retire on September 11th, 42nd anniversary with the city. Just has done a lot over the years. And I just kind of thought about putting in here. I mean, how many people in that span have seen different technologies and different equipment from when he started to what the equipment they have now, a new municipal garage. So there's a lot of things that Squirrel has done over the years, and we want to wish him best in his retirement. And then service anniversary report. Michelle, I wasn't going to let you get away with this, but Michelle's got 3 years on August 14th, so we congratulate her. Seems like she's been here for 13 years instead of 3. So we congratulate Michelle on her 3-year anniversary. That's all I got.
All right, the next thing is, does anybody have anything that they might want to put on the agenda for next month? Other than we'd like to see that railroad crossing down here for sure.
What?
Maybe
Railroad crossing down here, that's
that'll be their next stop. They're doing the 45.
I had, now that you say that, the county contacted me, when was that? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was-
4 weeks ago? And I think I made a comment that at one of the meetings that,
Yeah.
because he was asking me about it, and I said, if you can get that done, everybody will give you fan mail if you can get something done with that, so.
Because he was asking for some money, wasn't it? We wanted to kick in some money
Yeah,
for it? Yeah.
Yep. And I didn't have anything set up for that point in time, but since they were here, because the county is working with them on the Highway 45 one, he was kicking around the idea. I haven't heard, I don't know, Fred, if you've heard anything at the county level, but
We've got a highway meeting Thursday. In fact, I'll bring a list of the stuff that they're planning on doing next year and then in 22. There is a few around here nearby. Right?
But as a representative, if you want to put a little bit more encouragement, getting that going with the county side.
Yep, well, I'm always talking up for our stuff,
There you go.
prioritizing. A little biased, but you know.
Are they having their little get-togethers around the county this year, like they always do? At the garages, when they give you an update on the projects for the following year?
okay, seeing nothing else, I'll call for a motion for adjournment.
Second,
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I
I,
Opposed? We are done.